Good morning.
Hey, good morning, folks. Welcome again to the Sunrise Today with Jay and
Katrina.
Katrina. Why do I always do that?
I don't know, but I can remember that line, so keep doing
That's
it.
a simple line for you. One word, one line. I do that every time. It's just like, Jay and I give it to you,
I know. I take
and
it.
then I repeat it again.
I take it.
I don't know why I do that.
Well, good morning, everyone. We hope that you are warm and toasty wherever you are in the country or wherever you are watching us today. It's quite chilly here.
Quite chilly. I think we got maybe around 6 inches out there of
So,
snow.
so if you need to be watching and you have your blanket,
Yes, her blanket.
you probably should match your outfit.
Even if it's not going to be on the camera.
Even if
Even if it's not going to be on the camera.
it's very good to have your blanket.
It's a nice blanket.
It is.
You're very color matchy match.
I am.
Okay.
It's important to me.
It's very important. So we're kicking this off. What we want to do is we want to take you through the 21 laws of leadership that John has spoken about. And as he breaks down the Bible, John,
Maxwell.
John, oh, that's right. John, not John in the Bible, but John Maxwell. And we have his version of the Bible.
Well, it's not his version of the Bible. It is his leadership.
How would you
Bible? His leadership Bible.
The leadership Bible. Anyway,
still the same Bible.
He pulls out all the principles and everything about that the Bible has that teaches us what leadership is in our personal life and developing that for others. Because John will always tell you, John Maxwell, that everything he learned about leadership, he learned it right here. This is the book.
The leader. Mine is the sticky note.
This is the book.
So every leadership principle that he teaches about is in the Bible. Yeah.
And so if you know John Maxwell, one of the greatest books he's written was definitely, in fact, this is kind of like the, what's the word I'm looking for? The linchpin, I guess, or whatever. The main book that John wrote was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I wish I brought the book up there to show everybody. Maybe I'll bring it up next week. But the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And John will always tell you that everything he learned about leadership, he learned from the Bible. Well, he breaks those laws down by characters, by events, by everything from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and teaches us how we can use the Bible to actually develop our leadership using these laws as well. So we're going to go through the 21 laws in about 21 minutes. No, we're going to do the 21 laws of leadership biblically applied, starting with the very first law. And the very first law is
the law of the lid.
The law of the lid.
And
I got that.
All the leadership laws that we're looking at here can apply, and you'll see that these are in their personal lives as well as their leadership as well. So we can apply those in our home, we can apply those in our personal life and reaching our goals. We can definitely apply those in how do we stay close to God and do what he's called us to do, as well as leading others.
So I was just checking our social media to see anybody watching. When you hop on, say hi. If you're watching this live on my Facebook page or you're watching it on YouTube, then definitely leave a comment as well. If you're watching this, the recording version of it. And if you're watching this on Facebook too, whether my page or her page, we want to ask you to go over to our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and just put in Sunrise Today, it's SON. It's right on the bottom. In fact, you know what? I've got the banner up here, actually. Let me find the banner. There we go.
Okay. Is that big enough?
That's big enough. I think that's big enough. Go to YouTube at Sunrise Today, and you can watch the magic. See, it disappeared by itself. I love it. Cool. So, and let's get our numbers up. Let's increase those numbers. And then if we say something on any of our episodes that really impacts, or it can touch somebody else's life in some way to help them grow in the Lord and grow in their leadership, share it with them. And ask them to subscribe as well. Anybody's got a channel, you want to get those numbers up. And when you play those and replay those, it brings the algorithms up so they show up more. And so we'd like to...
So we can help more people.
So we can help more people, precisely. So do you want me to kick off? I think you
do.
said you
I
want
do.
me to. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to 2 Samuel chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. So I should have said that a moment ago. Give everybody a chance to do
That
that.
would have been good.
Yep. But if you got your Bible app, it's real easy to find too. But 2 Samuel chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. And this is where David becomes king over Israel. Okay, he says, all the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron and said, we are your own flesh and blood. In the past, while Saul was king over us, you were the one who led Israel on their military campaigns. And the Lord said to you, you will shepherd my people, Israel, and you will become the ruler. Now, in the New King James, it says, you will become Israel. And when all the elders of Israel had come to King David at Hebron, the king made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. David was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 40 years. In Hebron, he reigned over Judah for 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem, he reigned over all of Israel and Judah 33 years. So really, it's 40 years and 6 months. And there you have it.
And so here today, what we're looking at are Saul and David and the law of the lid and how they each handled situations.
Well, I tell you,
how they both face challenges.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We know that the law of the lid is leadership ability determines a person's level of their effectiveness, right? So we know that, and everybody has a lid. That's the thing. Everybody has a lid. So
have you ever met that lid yourself? Where you've risen to a position and then that's as far as you can go.
Right. And everybody has gotten that position where say, okay, here I am. But what do I need to do to bust that lid? What do I need to go beyond that lid? Success lies, this is John Maxwell saying, success lies within the reach of nearly everyone. But personal success without leadership ability brings only limited effectiveness, achieving only a fraction of what might have occurred with good leadership. So I want to encourage you, while we're sharing this with you, I want you to think two things. How am I showing up as a leader to my team at work? How am I showing up as a leader for myself? Am I leading myself well? So so sometimes we reach a lid even on our own personal leadership.
Mm-hmm. And you may not be in a position where you think that you are a leader, but you have influence on the people around you. And we even lead up. We lead up and down the chain. So how are you doing that?
100%. The higher you want to climb, the more you need leadership. The greater the impact you want to make, the greater your influence needs to be. So how do you increase your influence? You've got to raise your lid.
How did David increase his influence?
Well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. So why did Saul fail as Israel's king?
Well, David succeeded.
Exactly. Why did he fail while David succeeded? And that's kind of where we're going to go today. We're going to kind of help you identify the lids that limited Saul and the lids that did not limit David. Okay. So while David lifted many lids, Saul's attitude, like Zig Ziglar says, may not be the main thing. What it says, it may not be the only thing, but it is the main thing.
Yes.
Kept the lid clamped down firmly on his leadership. Take a look at similar paths that these two men traveled. Okay.
So it wasn't just situational, right? So It wasn't like David had it all easy and Saul didn't. They had some of the same paths, but yet they did things differently, and that is why that that happened.
Mhm.
So let's look at that.
So the first thing they did, both received counsel from godly men. These are the things that both of them had similar paths. These are the things that were similar about David and Saul. Both received counsel from godly men. Samuel, the last judge of Israel, anointed both men, anointed them with oil, because God gave him the vision that these were the men that's going to rule over Israel. And both of these men received the benefit of godly counsel. Saul got his from Samuel, and David from Samuel, and later from Nathan the prophet. And when David became king, Nathan was a prophet that stepped in as his counsel. You want to?
I would. And both faced great challenges. And some may come to mind for you as you're thinking about both Saul and David. Every leader faces obstacles, tests, and trials. Saul and David sometimes faced the same ones. Take Goliath. This might be the one that came to your mind as well.
That's a big obstacle.
It is a big obstacle. For example, when the huge Philistine offered to fight Israel's champion, both Saul and David heard the challenge. Saul, Israel's greatest warrior, hid in fear, but David, a mere boy, eagerly faced the challenge and won the honor for God. So both of them had the opportunity to step into that. Did faith come into play here? Was one going in their own strength and the other one knowing God's strength? And so whatever challenges that we're facing, if we try to go it alone, we may end up like Saul. But if we know who our help comes from and who's guiding us and follow in faith, believing, then we can step in and have a different outcome, better.
And I like that last sentence there too. I want you to notice something. But David, a mere boy, okay, young and innocent, okay, unhindered or untainted by the world and by the riches and by all the temptations that come with royalty. He didn't have those, right? But it says eagerly faced the challenge and won honor, keyword, for God.
Mm-hmm.
For God. He didn't win honor for himself.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't win honor to God. He did it for God. Because when he went into the battle, it wasn't about David. It wasn't even about Israel. And it certainly wasn't about King Saul. This was about God.
And I think about, though, that Saul was the greatest warrior at that time. You know, when he walked with God and was in God's
had great favor.
Yes, he did. But somewhere along the way, you know, that changed. Whereas David went back to him being a shepherd in the field, and he knew that God helped him when the lion came and when the bear came, that, you know, he was able to fight them and keep them away from, kill them, so that the sheep would remain safe. And so he knew what his God could do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he knew that. And he was trusting God for this giant that was in front of him.
And the humility of David, too, to once done, go back to his sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to his sheep. He wasn't there for fame and fortune. He wasn't there to become king. He was there to honor God.
Well, at that point, I think he had already been told he would be king.
Well,
yes. He was already,
Yeah, well, he was on the way, but
he wasn't
not yet.
He was not yet.
He was not yet. So, so the next thing is, okay, the things that they had in common was the fact that both of them had a choice to change. They both had a choice to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so Saul and David reacted very differently when confronted with their shortcomings. When Samuel rebuked Saul for making an unauthorized burnt offering to God, the king spoke not a whisper of sorrow or repentance. Evidently, Saul kept on the same course. He kept going. He didn't repent. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me, Father. Forgive me, Samuel. Forgive me, God." He kept on. David, on the other hand, he possessed an entirely different kind of heart. When Nathan confronted the king after the sordid incident with Bathsheba, anybody remember that story?
Unfortunately, we remember that.
We remember that story. David, but I think that's a great story for other lessons of life that we can always go back and reflect on. It's not always do we find success in other people's success. We find success based out of somebody else's failure and misgivings.
And it shows us that God loves us and can forgive us even when we have really gone down a path that he did not want us to go down, that we knew was not right.
Yeah, we still have a choice to change and to grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
turn back to him.
David broke down right then. When Nathan confronted him, David broke down and sorrowfully repented immediately. And God bless that. God bless that.
He was a man after God's own heart, even though he had done some of these things.
So now let's talk about some of those lids we talked about that Saul had that kept him from God's best, that basically dethroned him, put David in his place. So God removed all the external lids from Saul's life when the son of Kish ascended Israel's throne. But even without any external lids to his leadership, he still labored under several internal lids. Now we're switching from external lids to what's outwardly done to the internal lids. How many of us have those eternal lids? And we're going to talk about some of those eternal lids. And I want you to put internal, not eternal, internal, different, internal lids. And I want you to think about, is this possibly an internal lid that I have that's keeping me from God's best? I want you to ask yourself that. So take a serious assessment of yourself. Okay, do some introspection, and we're going to get started here. So God removed all the external lids from Saul's life when the son of Kish ascended Israel. But even without an external lid to his leadership, he still labored under several internal lids. So you want to hit us off with the what those are?
Fear. Saul began his reign by hiding among the equipment. Fear. Does fear keep you from stepping into what God's called you to do and to that next level? Want me to continue?
Sure, go right ahead.
Absolutely. Impatience. Saul refused to wait for Samuel and offered an illegal sacrifice. Is your impatience causing you to step into something that it's not the right time for, or that it's not the right opportunity, that God has something better, but you think, I see this, I'm going to go ahead and do it myself? That's not a good thing. God always has a better thing for us than what we could imagine ourselves. And his timing is perfect. His timing is perfect. Denial. Saul continued as though all was well, even after Samuel declared that God had rejected him as king. Wow.
Okay, so let me stop there. How many of us have been confronted with something we know we're doing wrong? Either by somebody else, a trusted advisor, a trusted friend, a family member says, you're going down the wrong path. What you're doing is not going to fare well for you. How many of us have done that? Or how many of us internally know this? We all get that little nudge that says, I don't think that's a good idea, brother. I think you need to step away from that. You need to step back. You need to change course, right? But we decide to ignore that voice, right? Instead, we want to move forward. In fact, I think it's going to lead us into the next point too. The next limited lid.
Yeah. Just think about this for a moment, hanging on to this just for a little bit longer.
Yes.
Imagine that you got demoted at work. You hit that lid. Maybe you really far down that lid to get demoted. But
maybe they put you in a place where you was above your lid and you weren't prepared. That's another topic.
That is another topic. But you wouldn't just go ahead and come into work the next day, stay in that same office, keep performing those duties when you've been told this is no longer your job to do this. That's what Saul thought he could do with God. With God.
Yeah, I know better than you.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. God will get your attention.
God will get you. So that was the denial aspect. Impulsiveness was the next one.
Mhm.
Impulsiveness. And what I talked about just a moment ago, it leads into this one really, impulsiveness. Saul rashly made an oath that almost cost him the life of his own son. Okay. When we jump before God calls us forward, we will learn very quickly that, oops, I shouldn't have done that. Oops, I shouldn't have said that. Oops. Or maybe, oops, I should have done this. Or oops, I should have done that. Not said this or said that. And so we act impulsively. I want you to think of a moment in your recent days, in this past week, when you acted on impulse rather than the guidance of God. When were you driving in traffic and somebody cut you off? When were you driving in traffic and somebody wouldn't let you change lanes? So just, you know how you're trying to change lanes? You got your little blinker on, but they just like, they just, anybody ever experienced that? We act out of impulse. How many times have you been in a relationship, maybe having a conversation with your spouse or your kids, and they say something that just kind of sets you off? That's impulsiveness. We ask, am I responding in a way? Don't read anything into that. Okay.
Do I look like someone that could set somebody off?
No, not even. But we've all been there sometimes in our lives where somebody or something happens and we act on impulse, or we want something, we act on impulse. Maybe it's your purchasing. Maybe you're purchasing things on impulse. When it comes to guitars, I think that's a good impulse. Okay, that's a good impulse.
We both like those.
We both have that, so we can't hold each other accountable on that one.
Sometimes I just have to touch them.
You do touch guitars everywhere we go. Yeah. I'm like, stop touching. But that is the one thing too, also impulsiveness. Would you like to hit the next lid, babe?
Yes, deceit. Saul offered his daughter, Michal, to David, hoping the young man would die in battle to win her hand in marriage. Okay, let's go over that one more time. Saul offered his daughter Michal to David, hoping the young man would die in battle to win her hand in marriage. So, he offered this great prize of his daughter, but really never intending for David to have that opportunity. Mm-hmm. He just, I'm going to send you out to battle and you're going to die.
Yeah, if you go to Goliath. If you kill Goliath, I will give you my daughter. Mm-hmm. I'll give her to you.
He wasn't trusting God. Saul had forgotten.
He thought it was a setup.
Yeah, he thought it was. But when you have God's favor, things work out differently, right?
Yeah. A lot of times I often think of God just looking down at us and saying, like in this case here, Saul had a different intent by offering his daughter, right? And throwing David out there thinking that's going to kill. But God says, what's this? Mm-hmm. What's this? I believe God kind of acts like that sometimes. I think he really does say, I know what you think you want. I know what you think you're going to do. I know what you're trying to set up, but I'm going to show you something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I think he's done that to us a few times.
He's done that to us a few times. That's right. Mm-hmm. So, you want to go on and read the next points? Or?
Jealousy. Saul began. I'm sorry. Let me start again. Yeah. Saul became enraged when the people compared him to David, and from then on kept a jealous eye on the young man. So jealousy is
huge.
Yes, it is very powerful. I think out of all of our emotions, that's probably one of the most detrimental that there is. And had he just appreciated what David was doing and could do, but no one really likes to be compared to someone else either.
No.
So I think we all can see how that could happen, but yet, God was using David.
And I think people that have a high esteem of themselves, when ego kicks in, we don't want to be compared to somebody else as greater than us, right? I mean, how many can say that maybe that possibly was the situation. I'm not saying I had that. I'm not saying I experienced that, but I can't lie and say that it never occurred. I may have thought that, well, I'm just as qualified as they are, or I can do this better than they can, or I can do it better than that person can. Okay. Things like this. We all go through those moments in life where we get compared to others. Maybe you're a parent. Okay. And if this might be an ouch moment for you. Okay. So this is a forewarning. Okay. Maybe you're a parent and you'll compare your child to their sibling. You'll do that. Now, we look at our kids and they have amazing traits, and trust me, we have many kids and many, many more grandkids. And you can look at each one and you can love them for their gifts and what they have to offer and who they are. But you cross the line when you start comparing them to another. And what does that do for the child?
Well, that pits the children against each other for one thing, but each one of, everyone is individual, and we all have different giftedness, just like our children and our grandchildren do. And God gifted us differently, and he sees us for what he's intended for us to do. And I think here again, what David was doing was to honor God. What Saul was doing, Saul needed to lift himself up. And so when we try to lift ourselves up into a place that we don't need to be, God might help us get put back in the place we should be.
Mm-hmm. He'll reset us. God's a great resetter. Okay, so he became enraged. So no one else. So the next one is anger. Anger. Okay. This is another one of those lids that limited Saul. It says anger. Saul repeatedly tried to kill David. Because Saul never removed the lids from his leadership, God had to remove him from the throne of Israel. Mm-hmm. He experienced all these lids. And you know what? They were directed at David. Mm-hmm. Every one of the lids that was placed, that he self-imposed, these were self-imposed lids. They were directed at David.
And think about what David, when Saul tried to kill David, David could have killed Saul, but he didn't.
Yeah, he
came and just cut off part of his garment, and to let him know, hey, I was here, but I didn't. I'm still honoring you. He still honored Saul, even though he knew that Saul was in his rightful place where God had appointed him to be. But so we really want to stay close in alignment of as what we're doing in our home life, in our job, in our leadership. Are we doing it for the right reason? Are we trying to honor God with everything we do and in our relationships? Mm-hmm. So that we don't hit that lid. We definitely don't want to hit a lid in our marriage or in our parenting. We want for God, we want to be in alignment with what God has for us so that we can lead well there.
And I think one of the ways that we can do that is just once in a while, just stop, pause, pray, ask God for guidance, and ask God, for help, for support, for answers and opportunities, because we're all going to hit a lid. Mm-hmm. And if we try to go around to get on the other side of the lid, what we want is the lid to be lifted, not evaded, and not navigated or manipulated around. Because if you do that, and many people do that, they'll get into a position of authority and they really haven't, done everything to raise the lid. Instead, they found ways to manipulate around the system to go above the lid. Now they are, they're lost. And they're frustrated and they're anxious and they're fighting, So we have to go to God and say, okay, I'm doing this, Lord. I'm hitting the lid. What do I need to do differently? That's reflection. That's coming back. Get back into the Word. And God's going to say, hey, look, here's an opportunity for you to grow. If you want to raise your lid, you've got to be a constant learner.
Absolutely.
You've got to be constantly learning. Learning isn't just by opening up a book and reading a book. It's taking those courses. it's researching, it's getting mentorship and coaching, it's getting all the things that's going to help you to raise your lid. There's a lot of tools in your toolbox to do that.
Application of those things as well.
Total, exactly.
So,
That's right. And we always talk about that. You can get all the information in the world, but if you don't apply it,
Have you ever went through a course and completed something and then you never actually did the thing? How comfortable would you be if someone came and asked you to do it 3 years later? You know, if you had never actually applied that. I know I personally wouldn't be that comfortable to walk into a situation like that.
not at all. It's like all the certifications a person goes out to get, but they've not applied any of those certifications. Then how good are they? They may be well learned, but are they well led?
I don't like that word.
Learned, it's a word.
Yeah. Educated. I like that.
Well educated.
I know that
My version, well learned.
that we really intended to do this one law at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think next week we should pick up with the lids that did not limit David.
Okay, we
Can
could
we
do
do
that
that?
to keep this in the time frame.
Yeah, because we had the lid that limited Saul. And the next part that we're going to talk about, which is going to be, I think, really encouraging, are the lids that did not limit David.
Yeah, look at those lids, and I love this. So let's do this. So we looked at the lids that limited Saul. These are some of the limited Sauls. We pointed those out to you. We pointed out for you to do some introspection. Okay, is this lid holding me back? Number one, fear, impatience, denial, impulsiveness, jealousy, and anger. Those are 6 lids that held held Saul back. Okay. And I want to say this one more thing, that a lid that holds you back is a lid that somebody else might be able to raise. That means, one, they can help you to raise your lid, or they will surpass you and go above and beyond. Like David. David didn't have these lids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to think about.
So, yes, we try to really honor your time. And so we're going to stop right here and just really hope that you reflect on these areas in your life and give them to God, because that's how you're going to succeed. And next week, we are excited to talk with you and visit with you about the lids that did not limit David. And hopefully we can see what ones of those that we have in our own lives.
Yes, absolutely. So until we meet again, my friends, God bless you. Have a great week. If you're traveling, please do be safe. We've got a lot of snow. Most everybody's hibernating around here. Our church is going online. So we'll be doing that immediately.
Yes.
After this. So, but God bless you. Please be safe. And let's wake up every single morning waiting and watching for the sun to rise.
Yes.
All right. You have anything else you'd like to say?
No. See you next
All right.
week.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.